Munther, I want to start with you and ask you why you came as a group to Washington to send this letter to President Biden and to lobby members of Congress for a ceasefire.
Yeah, thank you for having us. You might have heard that Christmas celebrations are canceled this year in Bethlehem. It's impossible for us to celebrate while our people in Gaza are being bombed. And for us, these are not just political statements in solidarity with our people, but these are relatives and friends who are now taking refuge in the churches. And we thought that right before Christmas, the beginning of Advent season, to send a message from Bethlehem as clergy representing the Christian communities. We wrote a letter, signed it, and came to Washington for that specific purpose, to advocate for a constant and comprehensive ceasefire. For us, it's about the humanitarian catastrophe that we're seeing in Gaza. I mean, millions have been displaced, thousands have been killed. It cannot go beyond this. I mean, enough of the killing, enough of the death. And at the same time, we're really fearful that if there is no ceasefire, it will escalate to the West Bank and maybe even further than that. So to us, these are existential issues. And we truly don't believe that war can achieve things. This war is not going to achieve peace and stability. Only justice for the Palestinians and equal human rights is the path forward for a lasting peace.
So that's the message you brought to Washington. Tamar, I want to ask you, how was that received here by members of Congress? You had a busy schedule speaking with senators, you said.
Yeah, I mean, we came here with one message and one message only, which is ceasefire now. And of course, some of the senators we've talked to already were calling for a ceasefire. Some were on the neutral side, so we were trying to push them to start or call for a ceasefire. Others were completely opposed. So, you know, with some we found some hope, like, okay, they can push harder. And for others, they were really resistant.
What did you say to them to try to convince them?
We were just sharing our stories, you know, like we're telling them what is happening in Gaza, what is happening in Jerusalem, what is happening in the West Bank, sharing personal stories, talking about the death we've seen and, you know, detainees in the West Bank right now and personal stories.
Jack, can you tell us more about what Palestinian Christians right now are facing? It's something that perhaps not a lot of people know about.
Well, it's between Gaza, the West Bank, and even in the whole Holy Land. Christians have been really fearing that this will cause an existential threat to their presence in the Holy Land. Because, I mean, the Christian community has been there for 2,000 years. Yet, we have not seen so much pressure on the Christian community to leave even, you know, with attacks all the way from Jerusalem to the West Bank to Gaza now. Maybe just think of the Christian community in Gaza. From 1,000, we're now, after 52 days, 800. Those who were able to flee, they had to flee because they're afraid for their kids, and because maybe they had also dual citizenship, so they were allowed to leave. But those who remained there, less than 800, 550 in the Catholic Church, about 150 or so at the Orthodox Church, they're afraid for their lives. And many of them, if they have the choice, maybe they want to flee for their lives and to come back later, probably, I don't know. But this causes a place that had historic Christians to be emptied from its original people. I mean, Christians were there before, you know, any nation that is there now, right now. So it is a difficult issue, and it is, I would say, spilling into the West Bank. Christians as well in the West Bank are afraid. And many of them are actually planning, they said, if this will continue, we're afraid for our kids.
And we have seen more tensions, as you said, in the West Bank. So when they're coming back to you, one of the messages we have seen from the Biden administration and from Israel is the defense that Israel has to defeat Hamas, which is responsible for the atrocities on October 7th, and that Hamas is responsible for civilian deaths because it is deeply embedded in the civilian population, including among Palestinian Christians. What is your response to that?
That doesn't justify the scale of killing we are witnessing in Gaza. How is the total leveling of not just neighborhoods, but entire towns and areas self-defense? How is bombing schools, children hiding in schools or churches, self-defense. To be honest, we see this as a vengeance campaign more than targeted bombing to target Hamas. At the end of the day, how are you going to battle the ideology of Hamas? Hamas exists because there is an occupation. So unless you tackle the root causes of the issues, resistance will remain, and whether we like it or not. As Christians, of course, we're not in favor of armed resistance. We don't like violence. We're against the killing of all civilians. But unless you address the root causes, the problem will continue.
Okay, and Tamar, I want to ask you, there is a ceasefire at the moment. The US, Israel, all parties are saying they're hoping that it is extended. Do you get the sense, are you at all optimistic that it could be extended and possibly end up in a complete ceasefire, which is what you're calling for?
So actually, it's not a ceasefire right now. They're referring to it even at the White House as a humanitarian pause because, but it's problematic because what's going to happen after the humanitarian pause? Are you going to give relief to these Gazans and then bomb them a few days after that? So what we're saying is that we want a permanent ceasefire. Do we see it? Honestly, after talking to the majority of senators, we feel like there's not much that they could do, but we don't lose the hope, and we're hoping that it could do something because this is a golden chance, and we've sent that message to the Congress people, to the White House, that this is a golden chance for them to redeem themselves and actually make it stop.
Tamar, Jack, Munther, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.